topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to Powerful Business Strategies, where you will find out that everything you have ever learned about growing your business is wrong. Finally, a show where you'll learn the right way to grow your business by learning business and financial strategies that your competition isn't doing. And now, here is your host, President of Next Step CFO, Michael Barbarita. And joining Michael for today's show as an executive moderator is Chucky Obio.
Yes, this is Chucky, and I believe that gratitude is undefeated and growth is about the next step. It is an honor for me to moderate today's discussion with my good friend, Michael. Michael, how are you?
How you doing, Chucky? How things? Did you have a good weekend?
I did, yeah. It was a brilliant weekend. I'm hoping, by the way, Michael, I could bring some of that brilliance from the weekend into the show today.
I'm sure you can.
Yeah, so look, quick disclaimer, folks. Michael and I are both affiliated with a number of different organizations, and I currently serve as the managing director of business development for Vedder Price. This is a global business-focused law firm. But look, in addition to that, I collaborate with Michael to moderate business roundtables and document the insights from those roundtables. In fact, we've actually pulled together a number of those insights as part of a book called Powerful Business Strategies. But please note that the views expressed on this show are based on our personal views from our personal success experiences. Now, my mission as the fearless moderator for today is to ask the right questions to get to actionable solutions that you can implement as part of your business growth, and solutions and strategies that the competition is not doing. So from that perspective, let me toss it over to Michael.
Thank you, Chucky. Well, my name is Michael Barbarita, president of Next Step CFO. And at Next Step CFO, we're a fractional CFO and strategic implementation firm. And our vision is to ensure overwhelmed business owners achieve the time freedom and consistent profits to build a legacy and live the life they desire. Our mission is dedicated to guiding small business owners to leveraging their time, exploiting their profits, and build a meaningful legacy. This show, Powerful Business Strategies, and our book of the same name, is a step toward accomplishing that vision and mission. And so with that, I'd like to hand it back to my co-author and moderator for this show, Chucky Obio.
Michael, look, I'm really energized for today's episode. We got some great feedback from our last two episodes. And folks, look, if you've not checked that out, we've got quite a few business owners really from across the country that are tuned in today. If you've not checked out the last two episodes, feel free to invest the time to do that. But in the last episode, it was quite remarkable. Michael talked through a number of stories and strategies specific to the conversion formula. And then as part of that conversion formula, we talked about the compelling offer, which is the last component of that conversion formula. And look, very excited, by the way, Michael, when I went back and I reviewed my notes, there's some really good nuggets from that. I mean, what were some of your takeaways from the last episode?
Yeah, it's great. I'm going to review that again today, but I do want to talk about the buyer's journey. And
yes,
through business owners that we interviewed, we found that a lot of them knew about this journey that the buyers go through on their way to a purchase, but they never really understood how to strategically utilize it. You see, Chucky, the buyer travels through a predictable internal and informational gathering stage on their way to a purchase. And we're going to discuss that today. But it also requires us to review the conversion formula, which I do later on. But I'd like to talk about some of my experience, if that's okay now, with the buyer's journey. Is that
absolutely
all right? Okay,
for sure. And Michael, keep in mind too that a lot of folks are going to have questions on, is this something that my competition is doing or my competition isn't doing? And I imagine we'll explore some of that as well, correct?
Absolutely. Good point. So in 1993, after I sold the ski business, I was in the frozen cookie dough business. We manufactured and distributed 10 flavors of frozen cookie dough in both a scoop and bake packaging and a portion controlled dough drop, as it was called, where the customer could just put the portion controlled drop into the pan and then into the oven to bake it. And one of the customers I solicited fairly early on was QVC. And I thought it would be a great product for television because it was visual and we could easily demonstrate how to use it. Yeah. So I finally got to the right buyer. That took some time, but they kept saying no. They kept telling me to call back in 6 months. That's right. Typical, right?
Yeah.
But every time I would call back or get back to them, I tried to do something different. For example, there were several times that I would send a FedEx package same day with fresh baked cookies to the buyer. And I'd even send fresh baked cookies same day, FedEx, quite expensive, by the way, other food buyers as well. Even though they were out of focus food buyers, you know, they might have bought squash while I was selling cookies. But QVC eventually down the road, you know, so I thought this is over a period of a few years.
Okay.
They finally had a campaign that they called 20 in 50. And what they did is they would go to each of the 50 states.
Okay.
And select the top 20 products in each state and put those 20 best products on the air. And that's as smart. You could, that's what they did. I don't know if they still do it now, but that's what they did then. And as you could imagine, the audition room in Massachusetts was enormous and it was packed. So you had to bring your wares to this huge, humongous warehouse.
Okay.
And then there were even local TV and sports celebrities there that happened to have products. And, you know, they could articulate much better than I could. And they were well known. So it was really, really intimidating. And a couple of the buyers that I sent cookies to happened to come to my booth and then tried the product that I just baked, because I used to bake cookies right at the booth. And so a long story short, I was selected and I got to air the product on QVC. Now, there's much more to this episode. If we have time at the end, I'll tell you a little bit more because there's a punchline at the end. But as I think about it, during my sending those cookies and doing all types of different things to get the buyer's attention, they were on the buyer's journey. And it took years. So what I'd like to do first is explain the conversion formula again, because the conversion formula plays a really important role in the buyer's journey. Yeah. So as we've been saying in the last couple of shows, the key to successful marketing is that you got to get into the head of the prospect. You got to get into the conversation that's taking place in their mind. But how do we do that?
Yes.
And so, Chucky, what you and I have observed through interviewing many business owners and customers, that you enter the conversation taking place in the buyer's mind when you center it around two things. Number one, the problem that the prospect has and doesn't want, and two, the solution that they're looking for that they can't find. And we simply enter the conversation in the buyer's mind strategically using what we call the conversion formula. And now here's the thing about the conversion formula. It's a 4-part formula.
Okay.
It allows you to address the prospect's problem and solution, and to do so at just the right time, like if you were in the prospect's mind. And it's got to be followed like any other formula, where the 4 parts have to be in the right order. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Exactly.
So the conversion formula is as follows. And like I said, it's got to be done in this order. And the first step, the first part of the conversion formula is called Captivate. That's the headline that happens to be the problem that the customer has and doesn't want. And it's designed to stop the prospect in their tracks, to interrupt them, if you will. So this headline or problem is the first thing you say out of your mouth or that a person sees or hears from you or your business. And it's got to really identify the problem. You know, a lot of people have another name for it. During our interviewing process, people have called it the hook. And, you know, it's okay to call it a hook, but when business owners are thinking about a hook, they're not really focusing on the problem, and that's why their hook fails.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I've noticed that in a number of situations when, you know, they said, well, isn't it just a hook? No, it's actually the problem, and you've got to dig deep into that problem. The second step of the conversion formula is called Fascinate. And now that we've interrupted the prospect with the problem, we have to keep their attention. And we have to actually engage them with a subheadline or the second thing they see, which happens to be the solution to that problem that they can't find. And in our view, and we've seen this tested successfully many times, this is how you enter the conversation the prospects are having in their minds. Through the Captivate and Fascinate.
Great. So, Michael, I mean, we're getting a nice stream of questions here. So let's just maybe do two quick questions from the stream. So one question is on the Captivate and the Fascinate, this point about how you've got to make sure you're solving the right problem. How do you find that right problem?
Okay. That's an excellent question. It starts, I can give you the starting point.
Okay.
Because we actually go through a anywhere from a 13 to 15 week process in identifying it. But I can tell you what the key element is. It's called a customer avatar. And I have seen several customer avatars that aren't hitting the mark. And they're not hitting the mark because they're not focusing on the emotional component of the customer, number one. And number two, they're not talking to one person.
Interesting.
That right there, that not talking to one person is the critical component in preparing an avatar. You need to talk to one person. Many business owners talk to a demographic. You need to talk to one person. You need to feel what that person is feeling. You need to figure out and describe how that person views your industry, and then how that person describes and views your particular product.
Yeah, I would imagine that kind of a process really brings the problem to life. Really brings the challenge to life. Yeah, very interesting. Michael, the last kind of really quick question just on this stream. So it's interesting, right? I mean, a lot of business owners, they hear what you're saying and they think of the ways that they describe their competitive advantage. So that was kind of the phrase that they use here. So how would you, with the Captivate or Fascinate, describe your competitive advantage? You know, your lower prices, or the fact that you have really quick delivery time?
Okay, excellent question. So there's this concept that we have put together in our book, Chucky, called I Hope So Marketing, where the customer, on most of the marketing that's out there today, the marketing that your competitors are doing, the marketing that you are probably doing, is I hope so marketing. And what I mean by I hope so is that the customer is saying I hope so when you talk about the largest selection or the low prices, or the best service. I mean, who wouldn't do business with somebody who would do business with somebody who's offering lousy service? So they're saying to themselves, if you say best service, great service, 5-star customer service, they're saying, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah. And so what's more important is their problem. Their problem. They don't care about how great you're boasting about your service. They don't care how great you're boasting even about your product. They don't care how great you're boasting about having great selection or being professional or having quality. They care about their problem. And that's why the conversion formula is so effective.
Nice.
Because it isolates that problem. And it can't be a generic problem. It can't be a generic problem that everybody can solve. You know, a lot of painters will say, well, the problem my customer has is the customer can't select the right color paint. Well, every painter can help you select the right color paint. But that's not really the problem. And that's why you have to go into perception of the industry, and you have to go into the deep-rooted emotional feelings of your customer. And the customer avatar is the first step, an important step to do that.
Very helpful. Yeah. Good perspective, Michael. Yeah, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So the first two parts of the conversion formula that we believe are the keys to successful marketing, once again, is to captivate and fascinate. And if they're not doing their job, you never get to the third and fourth part. We'll talk about the third and fourth part, but you never get there until till the first two parts are right. And we have a name for the first two parts of the conversion formula. The captivate and fascinate, our name for it is a position of market dominance. So if you hear us talk about a position of market dominance, that translates to the first two components of the conversion formula,
Precisely.
The captivate and the fascinate. So now the third component of the conversion formula is educate. Now that we've captivated and fascinated the prospect, we've interrupted them and engaged them, if you will. We now have the time to educate them more on how we go about solving that problem.
Okay.
Now we're able to take more time. Sometimes we do it in the form of a video. Sometimes we do it in the form of a 2 minutes added to a phone conversation. Sometimes, we do it with text. So there's a variety of ways to educate the prospect. And sometimes, I think this is important too, Chucky. Sometimes it doesn't happen on the same day. Sometimes you sometimes you captivate and fascinate the prospect. You share with them your position of market dominance. And maybe a couple of days down the road or weeks down the road, now that you've got them on the buyer's journey, you begin to educate them. So it's not necessarily at the same time. I think that's an important component about the conversion formula.
Yeah. So look, a couple of comments just streamed in, Michael. This idea of a one-call close. So it looks like there are probably some sales folks that are on. So they're asking about a one-call close. How does this fit with a one-call close?
Well, it fits the exact same way. Your customer, whoever it is, warm, cold, it doesn't matter. They have a problem.
Yep.
And they care about one thing, and that's solving that problem.
Correct.
So whether it's a warm introduction, cold introduction, it doesn't matter. If you're able to identify the problem that your customer has, and there's a process for that, and as I mentioned earlier, it starts with the avatar, then you have the best chance of turning that prospect into a customer.
Really interesting. And two questions just related to that. So this process could be part of a one-call close where in one phone conversation, you could go through the captivate, the fascinate, and then the educate and make your offer. Or
Absolutely.
it could be a multi-week or multi-month or even a multi-year process, correct?
Absolutely. And that's being strategic in your marketing. That's not drive-by shooting.
Okay.
That's not, slamming force
Spray
feeding,
and pray.
spamming.
That's one of the ones
Spray
I've
and
heard.
pray.
Spray and
There you go. I like that. I never heard that. That's good. But yeah, it's a process, and it's being strategic. That's the key word here. You'll find that you're being strategic with both the conversion formula and the buyer's journey.
Interesting.
And we'll get more into the buyer's journey in a minute, but I just want to finish the conversion formula. Unless there's any other questions, Chucky.
No, please, yeah, power through on that.
Okay, because the questions are a priority for sure. So then the fourth component of the conversion formula is we always end the conversion formula with an offer.
Mm-hmm.
And that offer has to be so compelling and so irresistible that the prospect would be foolish not to take it. And as we talked about last week, there are 5 components to a compelling offer. And the first is scarcity and urgency. The offer ends tomorrow, or so there's a time limit on the offer,
mm-hmm.
or you only have 3 widgets left. There's either a time limit or there's a quantity limit.
Correct.
Of what you have available. That's scarcity and urgency. And by the way, it's very important to note that if you can combine all 5 components of a compelling offer, you don't have to. You can do it with just one component. But if you can combine all 5 components of a compelling offer, it makes your offer that much better. The second component is a risk reversal, where the seller in the transaction takes all or most of the risk. Okay. I have given in the past my ski business example where we offered a ski guarantee. Ski the ski 3 times. You don't like it, bring it back for a brand new pair. We took all the risk because once a ski gets skied on, it depreciates dramatically. So the third component of a compelling offer is adding low cost but high value to your product or service. So I can give you an example of that. It's not a real life example from me, but I've seen this. Other business owners show this type of thought process where it comes to adding more value.
Okay.
So let's say you're selling popcorn in a bag, and let's just say you sell it for $5, just to use a number.
Okay.
And let's say for packaging, you decide that you want to add more value by putting the popcorn in a plastic reusable container. Now that costs you $1 more. So, and in all likelihood, though, the perceived value of that packaging will likely allow you to increase the retail price of the popcorn to $7. So you can increase your selling price by $2 with just $1 of additional cost. That's adding more value, because what you've done is you've taken the bag, which is what they throw away, and you made it into a reusable plastic container that they can put flowers in or do whatever they want with it, store candy or whatever they want to do with it. And that adds more value to the product or service.
It's really interesting. Wow. Good stuff.
And I actually have another example. So a toothpaste company could put a QR code on their tube, not the box itself, but the tube of toothpaste that leads to a video that shows people 4 areas inside their mouth that are most neglected while they're brushing their teeth.
So some good customer insights.
Yeah, and just adding more value.
Yeah.
And there's ways to do it, and the cost of that is negligible. So the key is to find ways for no cost that you could actually, or very low cost, that you could actually add more value to your product or service, making it more attractive to the customer to buy.
It's interesting. Just had a nice comment come in. So is it a perception dynamic, right? They perceive that there's more value there. And then given that perception, like you could maybe raise your rates or up the fee. Is that
absolutely
great? Really
absolutely. It is. Now, if you do your customer avatar correctly,
Mm-hmm.
you'll know whether or not you'll know what value to add.
Exactly.
Okay, because you understand your customer so well that you know what they perceive as value.
Exactly. Very helpful.
So then the fourth component of compelling offer is packaging and bundling multiple product and services together.
Mhm.
When I was in the ski business, everybody bundled ski packages. They called it ski package. They bundled skis, bindings, and poles.
Mm-hmm.
But what we did is we also bundled clothing.
Yes.
So yeah, a parka, a ski pant, a hat, and a sweater, and they flew out the door. Once again, the perception of that customer was that when you put things together, it costs less. And what's beautiful about it is it increases the ticket for the business owner. It increases the sale price
Mm-hmm.
when you bundle these things together. And then the fifth component of a compelling offer is indifference to the outcome. What's interesting about this, and we all do it, there's many times that we press to make a sale. And the prospect can tell when we're pressing. And as a result, they surmise that they don't have, that you don't have the customer's best interest in mind. And that means that you're on different sides of the table.
Mm.
So by being indifferent to the outcome, it puts you and your prospect on the same side of the table.
You know what that reminds me of, Michael? It reminds me of being a trusted advisor, even before the contract is signed, right?
Right.
Where
Right.
they see you as a trusted advisor, because to use your imagery, they are on the same side of the table as you're on. So, Michael, that's a really good point.
And what was interesting is that, like ways to do that,
Mm-hmm.
is giving the customer parameters on why they on who you'll accept as a customer.
Ah,
Yeah, I just did that today, as a matter of fact.
interesting. So you're qualifying them while they're qualifying you.
That's right. That's being indifferent, because you're going to say some things that potentially they don't qualify, and that's going to help you in the long run,
Correct.
because you're going to waste a lot of time, effort, energy. But you have to make sure that you do the qualifications too, and that comes across that you're indifferent, that you really care about the customer and the prospect, and yet you're on the same side of the table as the prospect.
Really remarkable.
And getting to know that person, that prospect, in terms of their inspiration and goals really helps in this process as well.
Yes. Yes. And the technique to do that, Michael, really quickly, because I've got to pick your brain on this. I mean, you're on fire with insights. I'm running out of ink on my pen, Michael. I just want you to know, because I'm taking some really good notes here. So give me a sense, like, how would you get to that inspiration? How would you get to that goal for the
Well,
prospect?
one thing you have to do, it depends what you're selling, but or what business you're in. But if you're in a person to person, if your sales process is person to person,
Mm-hmm.
then you can ask them what their number one goal is.
Ah,
But it goes further than that. It goes a lot further than that, because very often the first or second answer when a person says what their number one goal is, isn't really their number one goal. So you have to ask that person, once they say, well, let's say a business owner says something to the effect of, well, I'd like to net $1 million of net income. That would be my number one goal. And then a good question after that would be, well, if you did achieve that $1 million of net income, what would that do for you? And they start to really think about what it would mean to achieve that first, because it was only the first part of their goal. It's not their ultimate goal.
yeah.
And what we find is that in terms of business owners, what we find is that most of them want one or more of three things. either time freedom,
Mhm.
consistent profit, or building a legacy for their family, something that generations in the future will remember.
It's very powerful, Michael.
Yeah,
Very
and so,
powerful.
and so those are usually the three things. Now, and that's only obtained by digging deep into their number one goal. But if you're selling other products or services where you don't interact with the customer as well,
Mhm.
this is where the customer avatar comes in, and understanding what their goals and inspirations are, understanding what their number one goal is.
Interesting,
Now,
because you
maybe you have to interview customers and ask
exactly.
them.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you've done your homework, you've put in the resources and the investments to really get kind of that avatar picture. It's almost like each time we discuss this, Michael, and I continue to think through this idea of a customer avatar, I almost see it as like a picture with pixels, right? Where we're just getting more and more pixels into the picture, where it's almost going from like a regular image to like an ultra HD image, right? So what you're saying is you've got to get to the level where your customer avatar, as part of your business, whether it's a services business, products business, you've got person to person interaction or limited personal interaction. It's almost like an ultra HD image in your understanding of
Absolutely.
customer. Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
really interesting.
Absolutely.
Very helpful.
And it picks out things like their goals and aspirations.
Yes.
And I know even if you're selling pencils, okay, you have to get deep into, and you can center their number one goal around your product.
Exactly.
What is their number one goal regarding a pencil? What do they want to achieve? Some people want to do it for marketing purposes, right?
Yeah.
They put the names on the pencil. Some people want to do it just for good writing. Some people want to have good erasers. I mean, I'm just taking a pencil.
Yes.
I have a client who sells pencils that has a patented seed on the end of it instead of an eraser.
Mm.
And so you write with the pencil. When it's finished, you turn it around, you put it in the ground, you grow basil, tomatoes, flowers, anything you want.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, talk about adding more value to your product or service, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And in some ways too, it's beyond the sale. Like you're getting into the lifestyle and the philosophy of these clients and customers, especially if someone's really interested in sustainable practices to impact the environment in a positive way.
Right.
You've identified that, and they become really long-term relationships. So, Michael, this is interesting, and I'm glad the conversation pivoted to this point about identifying that number one goal and those sort of inspirations and aspirations. The more I think about this too, and I've got a question for you related to this, is this where your definition of the buyer's journey really comes in? So, understanding that sort of customer avatar and that customer profile allows you to then take them on a journey based on things that you understand about them. Is that part of what you're getting at?
Part of what I'm getting at, because when we begin to talk about the buyer's journey, we really start talking about tactical marketing,
okay,
versus strategic marketing. You see, tactical marketing is running ads, being particular on where you run the ads, stewing over colors and fonts and bragging about price, experience, all that I hope so stuff.
Yep.
But marketing needs to be strategic, which means it's the messaging that's important.
Okay.
And the conversion formula allows you to be strategic and does the heavy lifting for you by getting into the mind of the prospect and identifying and solving their problems. Now, most people don't understand this, and as a result, their marketing requires more repetition and more money to be minimally effective. So let's talk about another strategic marketing play that plays off of the conversion formula, and that is the buyer's journey.
Okay.
And so what exhaustive studies have shown us is that only 1 to 3% of potential buyers in any market or any industry are ready to buy at any given moment. So I need that to sink in. Only 1 to 3% of potential buyers in any market, any industry are ready to buy at any given moment. So right now, in any industry, there's only 1 to 3% of that population
Mm-hmm.
that's ready to buy now.
Hmm.
And so the studies have shown this is true in any industry. So as far as the business owners out there goes, you and all of your competitors are going after the 1 to 3%.
Michael, look, we are getting a number of all caps comments and reactions to that. I mean, I think you've struck a nerve with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then yeah. Oh, yeah. If somebody have a question too?
No,
Chucky,
yeah. Just a related question on that. It's so does that mean the addressable market is the 97 to 99%? If everyone's going after the 1 to 3%, and it seems like this business owner is asking just for their business, is my opportunity the 97 to 99%?
Absolutely, because I ask, well, if there's only 1 to 3% active buyers, what about the 97 to 99% of people who desire your product or service that you offer, but they're not just ready yet? They're not ready. Like QVC, when I called them, they were pretty far from being ready.
Yeah.
That's a great example because I put them on the buy. Once I found the buyer, I put them on the buyer's journey. And so 97 to 99% of your addressable market is on this journey. And when you think about it, while everyone is scrambling to go after the 1 to 3%, how about being strategic and go after the 97 to 99? It doesn't mean you don't go after the 1 to 3.
Correct.
It doesn't mean that. It means that you are being strategic about the other part of the addressable market.
Okay, so 2 questions related to this. So one, you referenced the QVC experience that you had. So it seems like there are a couple of business owners, Michael, that they want to know, what did you do to keep QVC, or maybe keep both you and QVC on that journey?
Well, thank God. I didn't stop I didn't stop communicating with them. That's number one. Follow up, because a lot of people don't follow up. And we'll get to that in a moment, but that's a big problem in a lot of businesses. Or if they follow up, like some business owners that we've interviewed, for example, Chucky, they say we follow up, and then come to find out they follow up maybe once. The buyer's journey in the case of QVC took 4 years. That's a long journey. Many business owners would have quit.
Yes.
And it's a matter of fact, for Next Step CFO, I have a client today that I've had for a year. That I've only had them for a year, but I first called them in 2011. So from 2011 to 2023, they were on the buyer's journey.
Wow.
And they're a client today.
12 years. That is remarkable, right? There's some folks that they're like, look, Michael, if you've got confidence vitamins that you could recommend to me, like that takes a lot of confidence to just stay at it. so maybe Next Step CFO, we could think through some confidence vitamins for you, right? I mean, that's remarkable.
That's right. Well, let's I know you're right, but let's talk about a more strategic approach. So we're going to take the conversion formula,
yes,
and combine it with the way that buyers buy on the buyer's journey. That can create a more strategical versus tactical approach. So let's go through that buyer's journey together, because this is what the buyer goes through in that information gathering process over time. So the first step is an awareness of the product or service. Maybe maybe they knew about a particular product or service and the problem it solves. Maybe they didn't. But there's an awareness that comes about that this product is available and that they think they might need it. And like thinking like a prospect for a minute. Let's say I have this problem, and then it creeps up from time to time. But sometimes it's not top of mind, and then boom, I see something that reminds me of the problem, and now all of a sudden I'm back on this journey again. And once I'm aware of the product, I'm thinking too, what else is out there? You know, some interest starts to ensue, and maybe some research is done as to what the options are. But this could be over time. You know, it doesn't necessarily happen all at once. As I said, one of my clients was on the 11-year buyer's journey. But this is the awareness stage, and that's the first step of the journey. The second step is, why should I buy? So it's now information gathering that's supporting the fact that it's solving a particular problem that they have. And what are the benefits to them? You know, they're thinking about what are the benefits. And they're compiling advantages and benefits of buying this particular product or service. Mm-hmm. The third step is, why shouldn't I buy? Meaning they're saying to themselves, well, what are the objections? Can I afford this? Does it really work? What are the alternatives? Is there another way I could solve this problem without this? And then the fourth step is, who should I buy from? You know, I decided I'm going to buy this solution, but from who?
Yeah.
And so along the way, buyers are gathering information. Now, tactical marketing is incentive-based, and it's based on price and experience, and that can attract that 1% to 3%. That's why some people with I hope so marketing land that 1% to 3%. You know, they drop their drawers, so to speak, and offer a very low price. But the 97 to 99% of the people that haven't decided yet, they're on that journey. And so here's what our research found, and this is what's really important in terms of being strategic. Today, it takes anywhere from 20 to more than 100 touch points before a prospect makes their buying decision while on the buyer's journey. So when I was soliciting QVC, it was taken this many it was taken easily 40 or 50 touch points, easily. However, we found that if you use the conversion formula, which I was not doing back then, to follow the prospect on the buyer's journey, it reduces the touch point somewhere between 5 and 12 before you can engage the client to buy.
All right, so Michael, I really want to underscore that point because this is critical, and this has come up in a number of our business roundtables. So what you're saying is pre-conversion formula. So before the conversion formula, business owners are doing a lot of what their competition is doing, and it could take anywhere from 20 to over 100 touch points. With the conversion formula, which a lot of your competition isn't doing, you reduce that strategically and impressively down to 5 to 12. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, you did, if you use the conversion formula.
Nice.
Okay, because you're identifying that problem and you're reiterating it, or you're finding another way to present that problem, maybe in a different way. And because of that, you're reducing the amount of time that they're on the journey. And one reason is that if you can solve their problem, then you'll be the vendor of choice. That's one way to cut the journey short.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. And I know there are a couple of points you've got to get to, Michael, but look, I mean, this has created quite a bit of commentary just with the listeners and the audience. So there's some folks that are saying this is a game changer. There's some other descriptions like this is profound. And yeah, this would save me and my team a lot of time, to your point, Michael. But yeah, really good stuff.
Excellent. Thank you, Chucky. So what we found, though, Chucky, here's something else. What we found is that the best way to communicate with a prospect while they're on the buyer's journey is by utilizing a drip campaign. And I know that there's a lot of negativity regarding a drip campaign, but a drip campaign, for those who don't know, is an automated sequence of value-added communication that's sent directly to the prospect. Now, a drip campaign follows the buyer's journey and communicates with customers or prospects on a predetermined and scheduled basis that nurtures the relationship as they go down the journey. And so it is the drip campaign that we found
Yeah.
the best way to communicate. It doesn't have to be.
Okay.
But-
That's
but-
good, right?
Right.
That's
It
good. That's
doesn't
Michael.
have to be. We found that to be the best way because it's automated. Because it's automated, it helps with the time factor that
Yeah.
business owners get deeply involved in.
Absolutely. And Michael, that clarification was important because we did get some pushback. There's some pushback with a number of folks where they're saying, I don't have the kinds of services or the products to make this sort of automation or sequence thing that you're talking about. And I don't know what our response is to that. And there's some other folks that they're saying, hey, I don't get a lot of business from my website or online. So if you're
Right.
saying drip campaign and my business is not really online or through a website, I don't know how I could effectuate that. So I don't know if you've got some responses related to that.
Yeah. So first of all, most business owners shouldn't be using a website. They should be using a squeeze page. The website is kind of call it electronic brochure.
Okay.
But a squeeze page focuses on one problem and one solution. And that is where any business can get more opportunities or leads to their business. But once again, the squeeze page has to follow the conversion formula, because if it doesn't, it's just going to be just another squeeze page, and it's very likely that it's only going to attract the 1 to 3%.
Yeah, I mean, Michael, this is just so insightful and informative. So it seems like the key here, the punchline is messaging. Now, you did say that there's maybe a punchline for the QVC story that you wanted to get back to. I don't know if we'll have time for that, but anything else that we want to touch on?
Yeah, there was a question. There was another question that I think there were two questions. I might have answered both of them at the same time, but maybe not. But anyway, yeah. So let me talk about the rest of that story, that QVC story, because it's really interesting.
Okay.
So it's the day of the airing that I'm going to be on QVC.
Okay, you're gonna be live on camera, right?
Right. And by the way, I actually bought. What was interesting, I actually bought the recipes from a husband and wife team.
Okay.
And the wife who actually created the recipes, she looked so motherly. We put her on the air because I'm just a grumpy old man. So we put her on the air instead, which was a great move because she had that look, that motherly baking grandma cookie look.
That is remarkable.
But leading up to it, Chucky, I kept asking QVC, what are the prices? What prices are you gonna what are the prices you're gonna sell my product for? They kept ignoring me. I kept calling them and they kept ignoring me. So the day came. Now, to preface it, the product that they wanted to sell was a 4-pound tub of cookie dough, scoop and bake, that I sold at BJ's Wholesale Club. And for those who aren't familiar with BJ's Wholesale Club, it's like a Costco. And I sold that 4-pound tub for $5.99. Okay. When I got to the show, not only was there a huge line of people waiting for autographs of the talent that's on that show. That's a cult in its own way. But I couldn't believe my eyes. They priced the product at $29.95 plus shipping and handling. We sold 600 units in 5 minutes. And people were calling in, raving about how many they bought and what a fantastic deal it is. So if anyone out there is afraid to raise prices, take a page out of QVC. $5.99, okay? $5.99 to $29.95 plus shipping and handling. Okay?
That is magnificent.
Amazing?
Yes.
So, Chucky, I think we're almost out of time. I just want to say, to get a copy of our book, Powerful Business Strategies, simply go to our website, www.nextstepcfo.net. It's totally complimentary. And until next Monday at noon Eastern Time, for Chucky Obio, My name is Michael Barbarita, and remember, don't keep doing what your competition is doing.
Yes.
You have been listening to Powerful Business Strategies, finding out that everything you ever learned about growing your business is wrong. Tune in next week and every week at noon Eastern Time on W4CY Radio with your host, Michael Barbarita of Next Step CFO and moderator Chucky Obio.